Hello, and welcome to No Such Thing as a Bad Movie podcast. I'm April Atmansky, and I'm here today with...
Justin DeClo!
And Colin Cunningham. Wow, so full of energy. Full of
man,
beans.
after watching Fight of Fury, I just want to go out and do good deeds.
I know everybody's talking about Cobra Kai. Well, I haven't seen that. I'm much more interested in this movie about a karate school and the leader who will save us all.
Heyo, It's not karate. It is Jeet Kune Do, the martial arts that Bruce Lee founded.
I'm not
believe
sure.
So.
Is that the case?
Yeah,
Yep, it is Jeet Kune Do.
As we're told at the very beginning of this movie is a tribute to Bruce Lee.
That's right.
It says that in text on the screen.
So I want to bring to the table how I discovered this film, which is somebody messaged me on Facebook, and it's somebody I've chatted with here or there. He's actually the writer of a book on full moon films.
Okay.
And he just suggested a bunch of movies that he thought I would like. And he mentioned this one, and he was like, I haven't seen it, but I saw the trailer. It looks fun. And I watched the trailer, and I was like, I gotta see this movie. And so I do a movie night with my friends every Sunday, and I was like, let's watch this. I can't remember the last time I made this kind of discovery where like I enjoyed every second of this.
And you're like, people need to see this.
And I like it's the kind of movie I had to add it to Letterboxd because no one had reviewed it before.
Yeah, and I think you posted the trailer on Twitter. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's how I
edited
found
a bunch of clips from it and posted it online.
Yeah, you posted online,
Yeah.
and I looked at it. And I'm like, holy shit! And then I watched the trailer. I'm like, oh my god, this thing is on Prime, like
And
Amazon
then
Prime. We have to watch this.
We have to watch it, and we did way back in the summer.
Yeah.
And then we kind of forgot about it, and I can't believe we'd taken us this long to talk about it on the podcast.
I was telling everybody I knew that had like a podcast or anything, like, you have to check out this movie, and nobody.
Yeah.
It's weird that like I see some reviews now of people being like, "This is amazing," blah blah blah, but nobody picked up the torch and was like, "This is amazing," like any of those bad movie podcasts. Which this feels like
It is made for, like, tailor made. And I have to stop this right now and just say, you have to see this movie. So it's on
Amazon
it's on
Prime.
Amazon Prime in Canada.
If we end
US
this podcast and you're not like, I'm stopping listening to this and I'm watching this movie right now, like you will never watch this movie.
Don't even watch the trailer. Just go turn on the movie. Everything
It's
you
amazing.
like about sort of quote unquote bad movies.
Everything you
is
like
in this movie.
about martial arts vanity projects is in this movie.
Is the vanniest vanity project you have ever seen, and it's
I would argue it doesn't do certain things that some vanity projects
Really?
do.
There's no gratuitous sex scene.
Yeah.
There's no
but that's
sleaze.
because Shoony B, the star of this film, who wrote, directed, choreographed, edited, I assume dubbed the entire movie himself
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
He's a good man.
Yeah.
Of course, he's the best. But it's also not like Neil Breen movies, which I don't think we've actually even talked about yet in an episode.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't make himself like literally God. He didn't give himself superpowers. He's just human, but he just has the knowledge of,
I mean, people are constantly telling him how awesome he is,
Yes.
which is so beautiful in a vanity project.
The knowledge, he pontificates so much in this movie.
He's got life lessons about everything ready to tell you.
Any chance he has to
like if you
speechify.
cough, he's gonna speechify about it and talk about like Zen Buddhism.
I want to tell you
something.
You can cough, but it doesn't mean that you are sick. It means that you are ready to conquer everything.
Okay, so we gotta say right from the beginning, one of the best things about this movie is Shoony B's acting. And it's going to be real tough because he has an accent. He's from Nepal.
Yeah.
Nepal,
but
yes.
it's not necessarily like his accent that's the funny. It's like the tenor of his voice.
It's very robotic.
Very robotic. And it also has almost like a Sylvester Stallone quality sometimes.
Which
That's
I
right.
assume that's how he really talks, unless
Yes,
he's trying
I
to
assume as
sound
well.
like a tough guy. I mean, I haven't found any interviews with him or anything, but
But like you have to say that all of his audio and probably most of everybody else's
The
is
entire movie.
dubbed.
the entire movie.
Everything is
dubbed,
ADR, but he's got like a slight kind of karaoke echo on his voice.
Yes.
You know,
Like,
you
it
go to
was
a-
too powerful for the mic to capture.
Yeah, it's one of those like the.
It's true. He has like a reverberation.
Yeah, it's just like a reverb when you go to like a bad karaoke lounge and they have it cranked all the way up. But it kind of talks like this and it has like an echo.
Yeah. So we apologize if we accidentally sound a little racist with our impersonations.
No.
Yeah,
we're
not making
Shoony.
fun of his accent. It's mostly like the way the lines are delivered.
They're
It's
delivered
true,
in
yeah.
a very robotic way. And not to get too offensive, but he's very, very difficult to understand. And we did have to turn on subtitles because
There's a line
he talks
that
a lot.
I know it's not like it's not what it sounds like because I turn the subtitles on because it's a casual saying, and I'll say it when it comes up. But it's so funny when he says it because there's one word that sounds not what it's supposed to be, and that's tough, right? Because like you're essentially making fun of someone's accent at that point.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's different because it's not different because it's just like the way he delivers it, like such solemn voice. And I mean, we're getting into real dangerous territory where it's like, listen, minstrel shows are about how much we love them. It's like, no. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to say I'm a kid. Well, I mean, think about like Tommy Wiseau. Like, we're not like.
But that's
Where
different
is
because he's
he
a white
from?
guy,
It's
so
like-
he can make fun of white
that's-
accents.
he's
and
pretending
You're
cast them up.
absolutely right.
Yeah.
Shoony B is not white. He's from Nepal. But like the audio, oh my god, like it's
Everything
really
about this
bad.
movie. We'll get into it. Like,
we haven't even
everything
started.
that could make it more entertaining. It does those things from storytelling perspectives to the repetition of sound effects
To the editing.
To how many freaking characters and extras and
subplots.
scenes. Yeah,
Oh, it
there's a
just
lot
goes
of
on and on.
subplots.
And the movie's only 75 minutes long.
And there's
Yeah.
unresolved plot points.
Hey, shh. Don't
Okay.
Because this has an ending that, like, I was dying laughing when that, like, title card came up. I was like,
Even the
can't
credits aren't
believe
long.
when the credits started.
Yeah.
So, Shoony B, as, you know, a little bit of background, I've done no research because I want him to live, like, in this movie pretty
Yeah, like
much.
I want it to be like a mystery, like Neil Breen, you know?
Yeah.
I don't want to know anything about him.
But it's clear he owns a dojo in
Yeah.
LA because at one point he gives instructions on how to go there.
Yeah, to the guy that calls him up, right?
Yeah,
And
a
he's
guy calls him up and he's like, "Hey, I'm an MMA fighter. I hear you're the best." And he gives exact details
and then
on how
he
to get
gets
to
off
his
the phone
LA.
and the MMA fighter's like,
And when-
yes,
Yes.
I'm going to work out with Brandon as his character's name in this movie.
After Brandon Lee, he's
Yeah,
obsessed with Bruce Lee.
we're only going to call him Shunny during this
Yeah.
movie.
Shoony B.
As he
Yep.
should. And a lot of the movie is shot at his dojo, whether it's supposed to be at a
lot of
dojo
his
or not.
movies.
And anytime he's in his office is sort of, in his office, the walls are lined with Shoony B movie posters.
Yeah, so I was like, is there another? Where are
There
his other
is
movies?
another movie. I like this movie so much when I watched it with my friends that we all watched his 2012 film Gorka Protector,
Okay.
which
Whoa.
is a film that he shot in Nepal. So what's kind of surreal about it is it's shot on 35 millimeter. It has a bigger budget. It has like a bunch of wire work, but he clearly recut it. And the version that you can rent on YouTube is his new cut. So it's
no.
all dubbed like this movie.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
But somebody else
I would like to
directed
see
that
the
one.
original version because obviously there's nowhere I can find it because like the Nepalese film industry is not that prominent. So it existed with English subtitles. He screened it with English subtitles, but the version you can get on YouTube is a recut that he did.
Oh,
see.
okay.
Yeah.
And he's the star of that movie.
Yep, he's the star, and he has the same voice. It's about him being awesome. It's also about him shutting down human trafficking as well.
Yeah, that's a theme in this
Yeah.
movie as well. So this whole movie, it's about like sex trafficking.
But yeah, like in his office, it says like Shoony B in, and then we can't really see the title of and his jacket.
Got a picture of him shirtless.
Yeah, and his jacket also says
Shoony
it basically
B.
says "I am Shoony B" on it.
Yeah. And then there's like, a dragon and other cool patches on there.
and
Yeah, and then he's-
Shoony B production. Well,
Or
B Kick Films.
B-Kick Films.
and it's like
B-Kick
an
Films
actual
is
B.
an amazing production company.
Yeah, so
name.
BEE, you
his
guys.
logo is a bee with like a stinger. And then at one point in the movie, he's wearing a jacket that's black and yellow, like a bee, and then he's got matching sunglasses.
Well, that's a reference to Bruce Lee in Game of Death, that like yellow
Well, yeah,
costume.
I guess so.
Yeah, it is.
but also a bee because his logo is black and yellow as well.
Could be.
And he's clearly I caught that, April. He's clearly a very experienced martial artist as well, like a real one, because he has so many trophies in his office.
Yeah, I mean, also, like, you can just tell, like, he's not, like, dogging it in this movie. He's really good.
So I should say this before we get to breaking down the fight scenes in this film, is that this does something that, you know, when I hear people talk about films like Miami Connection, where they're like, oh, the fight scenes are so bad, ha ha ha. It's like, no, these people, like, they know martial arts. They may not know how to pace a fight or shoot it.
Or choreograph
like, they can do kicks and stuff like that, which is more fun than somebody who can do nothing, which we've seen movies like that. It's real boring.
Yeah, like, like, people, obviously, like, I don't know how many of his students are in this movie, but I'm guessing all of them.
I would assume.
Yeah.
A lot.
But, like, just because you take martial arts doesn't mean you know how to be a stunt person. Like, it's something that you have to learn. And that being said, okay, I can tell the kicks aren't necessarily hitting, but a lot of the fights look pretty good, especially the ones with his daughter. Surprisingly good.
I disagree. I think all the fights are terrible in this movie.
No, so I would make the argument that all the fights are terribly edited and paced, but they can do the moves that they're doing on screen, even though they're missing from a mile away, and that they're fun to watch. And I think that's the most important thing about these fights.
I will say this. They're fun to watch. He can barely do the moves. He is so slow and awkward.
Is he slow? I seem to see him sped up quite a bit in this movie.
Oh, yeah. And even then, there was like a knife fight near the end of the movie that went on forever, and it was so boring. And then realized,
no, that fight is great. They're like breakdancing, and we'll get to it.
It goes on forever, and it's sped up. And I'm like, oh my God, it looks slow.
You know why? Because Shoony B is so fast that they need to speed it up
it can't be
to
captured.
make the other person look normal.
Yeah, they have to get the slow-mo guys or whatever.
Yeah.
Slow-mo channel
Fast as a bee.
So let's start the movie. It starts with a woman being chased through the streets, and you see font for the credits where I'm like, I recognize that Adobe Premiere font.
I looked at that. I was like, is that like the Charlie's Angels Full Throttle font or something like that?
It's probably like the third or fourth one on the font choice.
Yeah.
Where you're like, this looks pretty good.
It's probably called like Action or something.
It looks
action
like a space movie font or something.
And this is intercut with Mr. B training like a dozen women to like a self-defense class in the most uncomfortable and like David Lynchian fashion possible.
Well, these guys, they're each paired off with a guy who has like a bandana around their face, like it's a COVID mask. And
yeah, some of them have like capes as well.
Oh my God, did they? And like the women are like barely even touching them. They're like fake clawing at them, going, It's hilarious because they're not even doing anything. They're just doing the bare minimum.
Well, what's weird is that Shoony comes in and he like gives a big speech, and then it cuts to the women just kind of like slapping them on top of them, and he's like, good work.
Exactly.
What did he teach
He's
them?
like walking up and down, you know. And he's always wearing camouflage pants and combat boots.
Because you never know when he's going to have to jump into action.
It's true. And that's what happens because this woman is running away from her captors and she runs to the dojo. And then when she gets in, all the women are gone. So I guess it's after that class.
So at first I thought she was like someone who took his classes, but no, she just runs into this random, seemingly abandoned building. And just ends up on Shoony B's porch.
Yeah, and it's all these like guys dressed in black suits that are chasing her. And this is the first fight scene of the movie.
Are they like 30 feet tall? Because they look like giants.
I think
Shoony is very, very small. His daughter in this movie is
taller than him.
About the same size or taller.
I love it. I like the little guy fighter. But like some shots in this, especially a dinner table scene later on, looks like it's like Lord of the Rings. Like forced perspective shots.
He's holding this giant fork that looks like a gardening tool or something.
He looks pretty small in that scene.
And so this fight, like, I like that right from the get-go. They're like, this is what it's going to be.
Yeah,
So
we're gonna show all the cards.
Yeah, and those cards are, I would say like Godardian editing, kind of like French New Wave, jump cuts, sped up motion.
Lots of jump cuts.
And the camera's locked down most of the time. Not every shot, but a lot of it, the camera is just sitting there and he's just moving around as guys come into the frame.
If
and he
I had to take a guess,
out.
I would say that's because he's usually the cameraman when he's not on screen.
He's probably planting
that day,
it.
He probably didn't have a cameraman.
He's probably planting it and just, doing the shot. But yeah, like not only did people teleport via editing, there are intercuts in this scene that are not from this scene, are from different parts of the movie. He's wearing a completely different outfit. The lighting is completely different. I don't even think it's the same location.
I don't even know what you're talking about. I disagree.
It's that reaction shot of him and he's all sweating.
Oh, well, he needed a reaction shot.
Yeah, and that is not from this
We
scene.
should point out that he is screeching like Bruce Lee throughout all of this, yes. Honoring his master.
He wants to. What was that, Mario?
It was like,
Bruce Lee.
He does that.
Yeah, he wants to be Bruce Lee.
Every kick, every punch is punctuated by this sound effect, and it's the same sound effect.
But you know what? Usually I would find that insulting because it's usually used when it's like a white guy or like, an 80s comedy. But, Shoony B, it's honorable. He wants to honor his master.
He said right up at the front that it's a tribute to Bruce Lee, this movie.
We have to talk about the camera that they use for this because it's obviously cheap consumer like DV that makes everybody beat red the entire film.
I thought it looked good.
April said, wow, this movie looks good today as she watched
God,
it.
April.
You know why I think
horrible.
it looks good? The color correction.
No, it looks terrible.
it looks terrible.
I think the color correction, it tricks you into thinking that it's better. This movie is better than it is.
I disagree.
I don't know what
it looks
you're talking
horrible.
The
about.
whites are white. The blacks are nice and
everyone
down.
is so red though because obviously there's a color cast to it all.
Yeah, everything is like every light is
I'm
blown
okay
out
with that.
and blasting on the characters.
As long as they,
anytime
but
they're outside, they're
colorful.
shiny and
Like
sweaty.
you expect like a porno to break out. Like,
yeah, it's
very
that.
soon.
It's
like,
that
It's that
level of
kind of
lighting.
digital look. Yes,
It's
I
like
agree.
anytime we're indoors, let's get a huge
April's
spotlight.
a big fan of like Dogma 95. She's like, I just love that like in the moment style.
No, I don't.
No
I
lights,
don't-
no nothing.
Yes, okay. They probably didn't have a lot of lights, but again, it's saturated, it's contrasty, and that's all I want.
That does not.
You know what? Yeah, Shoony B is probably very happy to hear that.
He didn't color
I don't want to
correct
take
it.
that away from April's compliments.
Someone else color corrected it.
This fight in the movie, like every fight in this movie, is like 30 minutes long.
It is so.
endless.
It is so.
Not
long.
really, but it's probably like 10.
It is so
10
long.
minutes long. And it ends in a hilarious cut that it looks like everyone teleports out of the room.
Everyone just
except for Shoony B.
disappears. And a lot of his edits have sound effects. So, like, if everyone
I recognize
disappears,
those sound effects.
Yeah,
It has the shing
yeah,
sound
or there's like
effects.
the
Yeah.
yeah.
And the music in this film, I hope you like The Dark Knight. because
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
Dark
it's
Knight.
literally the Dark
stock
Knight.
sound effects.
Yeah.
It's not just that; it's all kinds of stock music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in this scene specifically, it's not just like a sound alike. I am 100%
Yeah.
sure it's from
Yeah,
the
they
actual
just use the Dark
soundtrack.
Knight music. So the woman and Sonny, the woman that was being chased, they go and have a very awkward conversation where it has the classic, like someone walks into a shot and they like hesitate before they sit down because they're waiting for the other person to say their line.
Yeah.
And then they sit down and then they say their line.
He's sitting in his desk, and I'm pretty sure it even says like Shoony B on the nameplate on the desk, and it's got his posters in the
His name is
background.
everywhere.
Everywhere.
In the office.
Everybody has their nameplates, as we'll talk about later on when they go to school.
Yeah, but the funny thing, he's like, I'm Brendan, and like there's a picture of him behind him that says
That says Shoony
Shoony B. In like it's like okay,
Wait,
he doesn't
does he
care.
say? I've been saying Shunny. Is it Shuni or Shunny?
I
I don't
know.
know. I'm just
Yeah.
I'm just.
We're going to say
assuming.
every variation
Shoony,
as
yeah.
we go along.
Well, it's one N, so it'd be Shoony and not Shunny. which
So
would be two
at this
Ns.
point, I'm enjoying this action film, but then the woman starts to explain how she got into this precarious situation.
Yes.
And this is when the movie really shines.
I have to
My
say,
God.
this is my favorite scene, and this location comes up again later, and the exact same camera angle and everything. It's the ladies' night at the Samosa restaurant.
Ladies' night. Let's get
they
it
go,
started.
Ladies, and they're all drinking like it's clearly like Coca-Cola, and some of them have
Yeah.
like water. I guess it's supposed to be like
What?
alcohol.
No, that's white wine. What are you talking about?
You mean red wine?
So we're introduced here to a baddie in the movie. His name is Mickey. And
Mickey.
this is a very obscure reference. His voice could only be described as like the dubbing from Things. the classic Canadian film.
Yeah.
Where I don't know why people, I guess they're told to be like a bad guy. Mm-hmm. So, they
kind of talk like this.
Yeah, they kind of talk like this. Hey, I'm Mickey. Do you mind if I join in?
You know what? Speaking of obscure references, I just watched Orgasmo the other night, and he sounds like the bad guy in that, who is he's the character in the porno they're making. He plays neutered man. So, and he's like, hey, talk like this.
So this guy, not only does he sound really funny, he looks like the third stand-in that Jean-Claude Van Damme had in No Retreat, No Surrender.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, he does.
His hair is slicked back. He often wears like a wife beater. I mean, that's a politically incorrect term. What are those called? Just like a
black or white
top.
tank top.
Yeah, tank top, yeah. And so this is like one for the books, where he gets invited, I guess, over to the table, and it plays all of what we're about to say in one shot.
Yeah.
Without any cuts. And I wrote the whole speech. He sits down,
God, yes.
and he's like, hey, do you want to party? And then he takes out a giant plate of cocaine and goes, this is what I call partying. You take a little chunk of this and you're in heaven. All right, let's go. No one will have ecstasy moment in here. Cheers. Cheers. Wash it down.
Yeah, he says wash it down. Now, while he's saying wash it down, they've already drank it, not snorted, and they're already passed, like half of them are passed out at the table.
This plays out in one take.
I have to clarify that this isn't in like a nightclub. This is at a table in a restaurant.
Like a Persian or Mediterranean restaurant.
It's like an Indian restaurant.
And there's no one else in there.
A friend of Shani's restaurants.
Oh, absolutely.
And we visit a few locations that I feel like it's, you're probably like a community man, and he knows all these people, and they just let him shoot for a couple hours in their place.
Okay, this is one of my favorite things about low budget movies like this, is anytime where the bad guy is supposed to be some millionaire rich man. They can never afford locations like this huge mansion or whatever.
No.
And what they have is grandma's house or some relative or whatever. So it's like these rich guys with 10 black clad bodyguards hanging around them, but they're clearly just in Shoony B's next door neighbor's house or something like that, with pictures of their kids.
I love it so much.
It's just oh god, it's so funny.
After the women pass out, it's very confusing, where the woman's story seems to jump that they were all sold into human trafficking, and then she escaped weeks later, I guess.
Yeah, she just kind of says I escaped, and then I ran for 100 miles until I got to you. Okay.
And then it cuts back to her talking to Shani in his office, and she's like, oh, sorry for rambling off like that. I don't even know you.
He's sleeping.
That's okay.
Yeah.
And then she says,
goes, I know the pain human trafficking causes.
That's right.
That's right, which we'll get into later, I guess, because he has a story that
tragic backstory.
And then they call her dad, who I love. This actor. Holy moly.
What the hell? So she says, my dad's going to be waiting for me at home. I don't know if he's been waiting for weeks.
I guess.
They cut to him at home. And cut
to him, and the angle is like a noir angle, looking from the ceiling through an oscillating fan.
And the fan sound is like... It's like something out of Ridley Scott would do or something.
He got ambitious.
But he is wearing the biggest bathrobe I've ever seen.
It's a pretty funny looking bathrobe.
So big.
It is so big.
He looks like Hugh Hefner, but like a real scummy version, like Thomas Jane in
it's just so
or Alfred Molina in
Boogie Nights.
Yeah, Boogie Nights.
It's like a Jedi robes or something. It's so
And what's funny is that every time the dad shows up, he seems so menacing and off. Spoiler alert, he's just a normal dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, something is weird about that actor. I guess he's just a bad actor.
Like, his delivery is like, Karen, it's you!
I was so worried about you.
Yeah, Shoony brings her home in his car and drops her off, and then the dad exits the house through the garage. The garage.
He doesn't live there.
Yeah.
The garage. It's like a garage full of junk, and then the dad comes out wearing this ridiculous bathrobe, which is so big.
I wish he wore the bathrobe throughout the movie. Like every time you see him, if you're rocking that bathrobe.
Later he's wearing like a full 3-piece suit in every scene, which is also doesn't fit like in this world. Anyway,
I mean, nobody wears clothes that fits in this movie.
No.
Like, it's all, like, giant. Like they look almost like kids.
The prostitutes look pretty good.
They do, and all the bad guys, especially. This is again a budget issue where they, the bodyguards all have to wear matching black suits, but everybody
they look bad.
Just do you have a black suit at home? Like just bring it. So everybody brings like mismatching, black suits that they probably haven't worn, since a funeral 20 years ago. So
their wedding.
Everything is just really ill-fitting.
It's not even their wedding. It's like their grandfather's black suit that they got. Exactly. Their grandfather weighs like 600 pounds.
Well, it's because they're shooting at their grandfather's house, right? And then they just go through the closet.
So Shoony then goes home, and we meet probably the MVP of this movie, his real-life daughter.
Yeah.
Yes, whose character's name is Maya.
And he says, just in case there's any confusion, he says, Maya, my daughter.
And I wanted to mention
she's rocking a Pokemon shirt.
Yeah. She got an Eevee shirt on. But I wanted to mention in the previous scene that the dubbing in this movie is sometimes really, really bad. It's sometimes as bad as like Ryan's Babe, if you recall. No, a lot of times it's okay, but then sometimes it's like that's not at all what that person was saying. Yeah. Even
April,
close.
I love your your positivity. You're like, listen, the colors look great.
They do.
The dubbing. Sometimes it's not too good.
It's in focus.
It's always bad.
Well, what I like,
it's terrible.
What I like about Maya is that she says everything like this. Hi, Dad.
April, listen, Maya kind of sounds like April a little bit. Very deadpan a lot of the time.
She does.
She's like,
Hey, Dad, what's going on?
I'm worried about my mom.
She sounds really tired.
She has a suspiciously deep voice. And I'm wondering,
maybe it wasn't her that dubbed her own voice.
That's what I'm thinking because it does not match her.
There's a goon that shows up in the movie, and he sounds like the guy in Kung Pao. That's like, that's a lot of nuts.
Well, actually, in the credits, they have like dub artists. So obviously, they had artists, some people, but they're actors who.
That's like it's like calling like a Subway guy like a sandwich artist or something.
Because how are you supposed to know? It's
how
like
dare you call it?
You're making a sandwich.
Justin, when you dubbed Teddy Bomb, you didn't have all the actors, right? So you just had to replace some of them, isn't that?
Some of them, but we did most of the actors.
Some of them talk like this. And others talk like
this. How's it going? Yeah, some of the goons in the film, it's me doing their voice, being like,
yeah. The daughter has it's like, hey, Dad, what's going on?
Well, it's not that deep.
No, it's not.
It's kind of like, we're gonna imitate the daughter so much, where she's like, Dad, I miss Mom so much.
Hey, Dad, are you still mad at Mom? I miss her sometimes.
So we learned that her mother and Sunny B, I always want to say Sunny B because it sounds so much like Sunny D.
Sunny D.
Yeah. And there's a flashback in this of you see their happy times. All I could think of was a dream within a dream. Because it's like fades over fades, like just Lynchian. Like,
it's
what
like
am I looking at?
He's like sitting by a tree reminiscing, but it's also cross-faded with him and his wife.
Yeah, and he's rocking the bootcut jeans, the worn out,
like Rob Liefeld does.
This is like the middle-aged man's cool look. It's like worn out jeans and a bootcut. And then the music we get every time they flash back to the mother, it's like something out of a comedy. He'll always turn to camera with like a tear rolling down his cheek, and then you'll get the kind of like
there's this sound effect.
Wind chimes.
The
wind chimes.
I can't imitate it, but while I was watching it this morning, I took a recording of it on my phone, so I'm gonna cut it in here.
Like a good filmmaker, it evolves that when he starts a relationship with another woman, there's wind chimes every time he sees her.
It's not just wind chimes, it's wind chimes and the classical guitar.
It's like flamenco guitar. I said it was like a scene out of Mask of Zorro when like Antonio Banderas is like hitting on Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Yeah, it's very Spanish sounding. But like this sound effect plays like 100 times in this movie, and I'm not even exaggerating.
Okay, so we're going to talk a lot about repeated sound effects, because near the end of the movie, there's a lot of scenes that take place outside. And Shoony, I think he did like something that you may not realize it when you have to deal with the whole movie, but he took an atmospheric track with like a dog barking in the background.
And that dog is barking that whole scene.
And because he's looping it, you hear the dog constantly, endlessly barking.
And it's this dog barking, but it's also this dog howl, and it's a stock sound effect that I know really well because they used it on The Simpsons once.
There's also an eagle like
Oh yeah,
you hear all the time.
That's also a Simpsons used sound effect.
It's probably you just Google, whatever, outdoor sound.
Like outside sound effect. And it was like 30 seconds.
He takes the first one.
Like 4 minutes long, so you loop it.
Yeah, he's constantly using like the first like 10 seconds.
It's like, woo!
Well, there's a great reveal.
Sorry, I'm just laughing thinking about my favorite character in the movie, a dog, who will show up a little bit later. Yeah.
It's never more apparent than it's like the reveal of the bad guy's quote unquote like mansion. And this is what I'm talking about.
The reveal of the bad guy's mansion is it's Shoony B's gym.
It's barely a mansion. It's something that looks like it maybe
had an exterior.
Once was considered a mansion. Like it's got, big sort of pillars outside.
No, well, the first time that you see them, they're in the gym room because there's the blue gym mattresses on the wall.
Right.
Yeah, the interior is literally the gym.
Yeah, and I think he's like stuck a door on the wall or something, or taped up a door.
It was very difficult not to write every line from the scene because it was so funny where and what's very confusing is it seems like he's talking about the girl that escaped, the woman from the beginning,
right.
But he's not. He's talking about something else.
Really? I thought he was talking about
he freaks out that she escaped.
No, he freaks out that she escaped again.
Oh.
It's the same girl. I know it is confusing.
The guy, Mickey, is like, He was not like a regular guy. He was like a ninja, a mountain fighter.
A Gorka soldier.
Which is what we find. So a Gorka soldier is
it's a Nepalese
Is that like
soldier.
a Black Ops thing in Nepal?
I think it's just like the Nepalese army.
What they're called?
They have like a history where the name came from. I'm not sure. But
and like they bounce back and forth with Mickey and this other guy. Is his name Brutal?
Brutal.
Like,
no, that's not Brutal.
No, Brutal is the one with the mohawk
and the tattoo on his head.
There's some villains that are introduced later on in the movie.
This is the Mickey's dad, who's the mob boss, whose name is Greco. Right. But you don't find out that that's his name until later, which is confusing.
And he's 100% has to be one of Shoony's students.
Yes,
100%. Most of these people
He's got a very suspect hairline. He looks like kind of low-rent Steven Seagal.
Well, way later when you see him like at the very end, I'm like, whoa! He takes his clothes off and he's like his shirt off, and he's actually like really cut and like really fit.
He's not a guy that you would expect to like throw any kicks, and he does because he has the big climactic fight in this movie.
So that's why I was confused.
This scene is great because somebody made a decision that Greco will like fondle a knife throughout the scene, and you hear the sound of the knife like throughout such dialogue as "Chillax, I got this," right?
They gotta really amp up those sound effects to make it seem threatening.
And like Mickey's all, like saying stuff like, "Damn, all right, damn, old fucking geezer."
He's a great character.
Yeah. Well, I think this is where we're introduced to Brutal, who's kind of the big bad of the movie. Like he outranks Greco.
Apparently,
yes, he does.
He looks exactly, and I thought it was him until I looked it up. He looks like Chuck Liddell, the MMA fighter. Identical in mannerisms, and he's always hanging out with this woman who at first I thought was his mom. But it's later revealed to be his love interest.
We don't really know.
Like a very, very old Russian woman or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, Shoony is open to all ages, sizes. He doesn't judge. So, throughout all these sequences, there is whole subplots about women just, living the life in LA.
Yeah, so the women that we see get drugged, we now follow them in their new life as prostitutes, as sex workers.
Yeah, but
and
it's like
none of them seem distressed at all about now being forced into prostitution.
They're like, this is just my life now. No, it'd be like, I'm kind of nervous. And the other one will say, why are you nervous? Just relax and have a good time.
Try to have
fun. So it's basically established that all these girls that, the girl from the beginning, I think her name's Karen.
No idea.
Her and her friends, as we mentioned, they all get kidnapped. But I don't know if that's these group of girls. It seems like different. There's like a bajillion young women in this movie, and they all start to
about the movie
together.
Is that at one point they meet up again. They're like, "Thank you for saving us, Shoony." And I'm like, "Did that happen off screen? I don't remember that happening."
Yeah, you're right. Now that I think about it, I can't pinpoint when that happened exactly.
I thought he did save them, but I can't remember.
But instead, we jump to, there's like goons in this movie that keep following Maya, Shuni's daughter.
Yeah, the
and these are the two
movie.
guys that are like dubbed like, that's a lot of nuts.
Yeah, it's like these two guys, and one of them looks like one of the Ramones. He looks like an ex-Ramone, like
an older guy,
Jackie Ramone or something. He looks like he's about 65 years old.
And the other guy's a lot younger.
Balding with like dyed black hair with like sunglasses. It looks, it's so funny.
But we get a scene here of Maya in class. And it's like this really crappy like classroom. It's clearly just like a community room or whatever.
But it seemed to be like there was a chalkboard on the ground that said 7 to 11th grade. So are these like the gifted students or something?
I don't know. It looked like a Sunday school or the basement of a church.
But like
it's
like established that she is absolutely the smartest in her grade. She's way ahead of everyone else. And that's when I realized that this isn't just a vanity project for Shoony B. It's also for his daughter. It's a real After Earth situation.
Yes, but he's the one who created her.
Who raised her. Yeah.
It's true, but you got to admit,
she's been raised on his knowledge.
She comes off pretty badass in this movie.
Yeah, she has the best fight scene in the movie.
But she's also super smart, is what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're introduced here to a trait that Shuni shows throughout the film is that as good a man as he is, he's always late for stuff.
Yes, that is a runner. He's always late. LA traffic.
Don't worry, he picks up Maya and he's like, let's go for ice cream.
To Baskin Robbins.
And they're not even hiding that it's Baskin Robbins at all.
This is the scene of the movie that is like the flower scene in
yes, 100%.
Where it's like, it's almost as if it's like a parody of that. Like, it's so close.
But he introduces himself. He goes up to the guy at the counter and he says, "Hey, how you doing?" Like he's trying to sound like Sylvester Stallone.
It is most Sylvester Stallone, and he does a fist bump with the guy.
Yeah, he does that in many times in the movie.
He's just trying to show that he's popular around the neighborhood. Everybody loves him.
Yeah, everyone's like, Shuni, thank you so much for coming.
It's true.
His daughter's like, I would like cookies and cream. He's like, what? Don't you want mango?
Yeah, and that's their... And then this really weird thing happens. He just picked up his daughter from school. They get ice cream, and then they run into like some family friends, like some of her like school friends or whatever, and their mom. And he says, "Oh, I gotta get back to the dojo. I have an appointment. Can you give Maya a ride home?"
He just dumps her.
Okay, sure. So you just picked her up from school. You're having ice cream, and then I forgot. I have to teach this this young hot girl I just rescued the other day.
So he just drops her off with the first person he meets at the ice cream, who looks like there's a gun being held to the actor's head off screen.
Yeah,
she looks so uncomfortable. She's like, "Hello, Shuni."
A lot of the kids too are like kind of looking at the camera, like they're. I mean, you have to come to expect this. It's perfectly fine.
So the romance plot in this film, very uncomfortable.
This is the his version of like the sleazy love scene, and like all these vanity projects. It's just like, I gotta be a man. I gotta have this like.
Yeah, I'm gonna teach you self-defense. And usually, they like roll around.
Usually
the ground.
They would get like some ex-Playboy model or something to show her boobs and.
She's very young.
No nudity
girl.
in this film. This is a family picture.
Well, like she says, like I was in college or I just graduated college or something.
She's way too young for him.
Well, he's like 50 something, so yes.
I do like that when they wrestle and they land on the ground, he rolls out of it. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm so spry."
He does like a shoulder roll. But the thing is, he's like. It's like an emotional self-defense, like, do it. You have to like get over your fear of your captors. And then she like is straddling him and punching him in the face. And then he grabs her and hugs her and says, shh, it's okay. It's okay. Like, we're done now. You can relax. Like she has like PTSD, which her character probably would.
Yeah.
And then they just talk and then they have like a slightly flirty exchange, but like, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go to the office, and she's like, "Hey, could you want to come over for supper tonight?" And he's like, I'm busy." And she's like, "Please." He's like, "Oh, okay, I'll come."
So it's
like,
dinner at Dad's.
Oh, so he does go.
Yeah.
Well,
so
where's
then
his daughter during all this?
Gosh,
who knows?
Who cares? Which is a running.
That was my favorite character, which we will get to very soon.
Well, a running theme is where's his daughter.
Yeah,
who cares?
It's true.
Even before the credits roll. So they go to dinner, and this is the most Lynchian dinner. Like, the table looks giant.
Yeah, it looks really big, and it's clearly not these people's houses. It looks like the way it's decorated, some things on the wall.
We prophesied, or we
Prophesized?
hypothesized that this was Shoony B's house.
I think so. There's like a lot of locations in this movie where you think, okay, that's got to be his house because there's posters on the wall.
It just seemed like it would be his house, you know. It's got unless you think it's too nice for Shoony, it's got like a big.
I like that Shoony, like he's real casual. He wears like a weird sports jacket
it was like a sweater. It was like a sports
Yeah.
sweater, a zip up sweater, and then they have Chinese food, and then don't eat it.
Well, it could be food from Nepal. We don't know.
Yeah.
I like the centerpiece, which is giant flowers with flashing blue lights on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, what the hell is that?
Interesting.
Yeah, so none of them, they've always got these like plates of carefully arranged Chinese food. Not one of them has like touched it.
And then he gets up
And then he
leaves.
gets up to leave.
After speech number 1500 in this movie. Hey.
Yeah, we have not gone through his speeches because I wrote the big one that he has to his daughter later on, where we'll get to that.
Oh God, which one?
Because he gives a speech almost every scene about how his thoughts on life and his morals. But
His morals, his mission.
yeah, I guess so. When he leaves is when he goes home.
Yeah, he
Right?
goes home and his daughter's like, Dad, I have something to show you. Close your eyes. It's a surprise. And then my favorite thing of this movie happens. This is probably when I laughed the most. She opens the door and like the world's biggest dog
huge.
walks into the room.
It's like Marmaduke or something.
It's a Great Dane, the world's biggest
Like,
dog breed.
It is so big, and especially beside his daughter and Shoony, it looks 10 times bigger.
Yeah.
And like the angle, it seems to change, like almost like grow bigger from shot to shot. You're like, they'll be crushed by this giant dog.
But I don't think you ever see this dog again.
You do, but
No.
it's so fucked up.
It's a flashback. Yeah, his
that was
daughter's
a
like, I had a dream the dog was scratching at my door.
Yeah, but it's so the editing in this movie. It's often edited clearly out of order.
It's like an
to
art
make it
film.
more interesting, I guess, because we get this scene with the dog. She says, "Can we keep him?" And he says, "Hey, this clearly belongs to somebody. Can we just keep him for one night?" Okay. And then a couple other small scenes happen. Every scene in this movie is like 2 minutes, by the way, at most. And then we see the dog arriving at the apartment. So it's like that happened before. Why are you showing it after? Makes no
Because the
sense.
dog is a reincarnation of his wife and her mother.
It could be.
God.
It could be.
And they clearly got Frank Welker to do the voice of the dog because it's a man's voice going like
You're breathing.
throughout the scene.
It's a Shoony B going bark, bark,
Chewy?
woof, bark.
Woof, woof. They wasted all their money on the dog barks that appear later in the film.
What did he say about the dog? He's like, oh, he's very friendly.
Yeah.
He says
No, he
something
goes,
funny.
I think he's like, whoa, I like him. Like, just very, he's very happy to see the dog. And then he's like, let's get rid of this dog. It doesn't belong to us.
Well, I think that a lot of the lines were improv, or they're just trying to remember what's in the script, so they're just vaguely saying.
None of this matters. You'll never see this dog again for the rest of the movie.
But he goes, no, because he goes, wow, what a pleasant surprise. I like him.
He's friendly. And then we get probably the best action scene in the movie. This is my favorite part of the movie, by the way. The Kung Fu daughter. So the daughter is like
And
bullied
this is
by some
the
of the
most
kids at school.
unmotivated fight scene ever.
They want her homework.
Yeah,
They're like, Maya, give me your homework. And she's like, why don't you just do your own homework?
you gotta do
and then
yourself.
she goes like, shut up. And then he says the name of the kids that attack him. He's like, Charlie, Giant, Mouse, get
no,
her.
I thought it was Giant Mouse.
So did I.
Because there's only 2 kids to his side.
Yeah,
so
it's like the little
Charlie,
kid.
Giant Mouse, get her.
I think it's 2 guys. One of them is called Giant Mouse.
It's a great scene, though.
Yeah,
she's
kid fight.
very, and also these kids are also all clearly students at the karate
Oh,
school.
for
I
sure.
mean,
It's
come
like all of them know.
They got the moves, and I relate to this. I did karate as a very young girl. So.
Did people bully you for your homework?
I don't think so. I
April.
tried to get in fights, but nobody would fight me because I'm so nice.
You were the one starting the fights. Give me your homework.
No, I didn't get into fights.
And Maya defeats all the kids, but she gets in trouble, even though she self-defended herself. But as her dad says when they're in the principal's office, I understand you did this in self-defense, but remember, you yourself are the lethal weapons.
How do we know this is the principal's office that they're in, by the way?
Yeah, we know it's the principal's office because there's a big
silver notebook,
cardboard sign that says "Principal" Levy.
It's a notebook.
It's a notebook that's like propped up, and it looks like it's written by a child in crayon.
It says "Principal" Levy.
It looks like you start writing with the letters at one size, and then you realize you're not going to have enough room to fit all the words. Yes. And you're like, oh dear.
And you feel like they started shooting the scene, and Shoony was like, people may not know this is the principal's office, so we need to clarify.
I mean, he's right. And then he makes another speech, and then the principal and the teacher are like, we can tell that she has very good support at home.
You are the greatest teacher in the world.
Of all time.
The greatest parent in the world.
You clearly are doing something right.
I wish you were my father, Shoony.
Yes. I like how the teacher in the scene, for some reason, she talked really fast. She's like, it's my pleasure. She's a good student.
Just trying to get home. Gotta get out of this scene.
You're my favorite student's father.
Anytime there's a transitional moment with cars, for some reason, they're sped up.
You mean speed ramp?
A lot of stuff is sped up in this movie.
I mean, where do we go from here?
It's the Griffith Observatory date.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because he's a rebel without a cause.
But you got to know, something really weird happens on his way to this date. And I was just like, what is happening? So they cut to I think it's the Chinese theater or something in Hollywood.
Man's Chinese theater,
and something. And then they just have a sound effect of action, and then there's just random footage of a little boy with his shirt off doing
shot at a low angle.
Yeah, doing
so you can't see what's around him.
Stuff, and he's saying weird things.
He's
and
doing
this lasts 10 seconds.
He's doing a Bruce Lee rap.
Yeah, he's rapping, and then we cut to the Griffith Observatory scene, and I was like, that didn't fit in the movie at all. And then he says, "Sorry, I'm late. They were shooting a movie with some kid with nunchucks," and so I'm thinking, did he just know some kid that really wanted to be in his movie? And he's like, let's find a way to fit it in. I'm sure we can fit it in.
Yeah, or he saw him on the street.
He's trying to find justification for being late all the
time.
Yeah,
he's always finding kids to put in his movies.
Well, that doesn't sound good.
Kid, you want to be in a movie?
No one would be like, I need production value. I need a little kid doing kung fu. There's enough people doing kung fu in this movie.
This almost feels like an episode of Nathan For You, where it's Nathan's like, how do we get people to want to sign up for this martial arts class? Solution, put them in a movie.
You're not wrong. It does come off like that.
Or how can we get around with hiring actors that know kung fu without having to pay them?
Solution. Exactly. Go to the local
Use
kung
my
fu
students.
School. Yeah.
So we go to the Griffith Observatory, and this is when we're introduced to the eagle screech.
Yeah.
Which plays out throughout this, and this has some really funny scenes where, where what is the woman's name that he says at the beginning? We've just been calling him the woman.
I think it's Karen. I think he heard him say Karen, so let's call her that.
Let's call her Karen. Karen has a scene that's like the deleted moment from T2 where she's like, give me a smile. And Shoony B's like,
Then he takes his sunglasses off and he's not smiling, and then she bursts out laughing. I don't even know what happened in that scene.
I think they have the take. He's got a flashback. He explains that his wife.
Oh yeah, after the whole.
This is one of the many crying flashbacks. Where he explains that his wife was 9 months pregnant and then was kidnapped and forced into...
The reveal of her being like, I'm pregnant, and they're sitting at a table, and then he puts his hands up in the air and he goes, I'm the happiest man in the world.
That is the happiest he is in this whole movie. Yeah.
And it cuts to a giant close-up of his face with a tear running down his cheek, and I posted this on Twitter. A fly slams into his forehead and then bounces to the ground. I've never seen this movie before.
Great character.
He's headbutted a fly to death. That's how talented he is.
And then he explains that his wife was killed by terrorists while he was on a mission with the army.
His wife was kidnapped,
traffickers,
raped, and sold into sex slavery.
He
stresses. He says she was 9 months pregnant or 8 months pregnant.
Yeah, so he says that it was while he was away in the army. So he was away when she was pregnant, and his whole thing is, I should have been there to protect her. I didn't protect her.
Pregnant with Maya, his daughter?
No, with
another kid. Because in the flashback, Maya is there.
Maya is her normal age as she is in the movie.
Yeah. Oh, right.
So seemingly this only just happened.
So this was in Nepal?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
because he says she was.
And of course, Shoony has a wife that's like 1/4 of his age.
Yeah, she looks pretty young. And they have this, like, during this flashback, it's supposed to flashback to when they first met, but they're just the same ages.
This reminds me, in the film he made previous to this, because it's in that kind of like Bollywood style tradition and that style, there is a Shoony B musical number.
Oh my God.
Oh, really?
Oh my God. Does he sing?
Yep. Yes, he does. I think he raps.
Oh, I'd like
my
to see
God.
that.
I need to see this.
I need to see this movie. You said I can rent it
It's
off
on
YouTube?
YouTube. You can rent it for like $2.
Oh my God. All right. We know what we're doing tonight.
So here we get the big story. It's sad. And then I think because he's hanging out at the Griffiths Observatory, he doesn't pick up his daughter like he's supposed to.
Yeah, now we
keeps
get
happening.
we get a flashback, or not a flashback. Sorry, we jump to Chuck Liddell and his mom/girlfriend.
Okay, you mean the big subplot of the women sex workers are going to start their own MMA league?
Wait. Hang on. The MMA women are also the prostitutes?
I think so.
I
thought there was a separate group of women.
I don't know.
They do all look the same.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I couldn't tell you.
Unclear.
It's unclear, and this
plot goes
nowhere,
and it spends so much time on it.
Yeah, and then it cuts back to the actual plot. So Maya's waiting for Shoony B, and of course he's not there. And then these two henchmen show up again.
Hey, let's kidnap
Jackie
her.
Ramone.
And again, in the entire movie, all these bajillion scenes that we mentioned, they're usually there in the bushes, like hiding. Getting ready to kidnap.
Yeah, dressed like the Reservoir
So
Dogs.
we should point out that like we've been talking for like 40 minutes. The plot of this movie has not started yet.
There is so
like
much.
it's basically been a hangout picture.
There's so much more to go.
The major plot is about to happen.
Yeah, so she's kidnapped. Well, first she fends off these guys, and this is a pretty entertaining action
She does
scene.
this really cool like jump, punch, kick thing, and it's like these guys are huge, and I know it's a movie, but it's like even in the reality of the movie, they were like, "She beat us up really good, boss."
This
like,
Jackie Ramone guy is like 70 years old. Come on,
he's
not
pretty
fighting
old. The
anybody.
other guy looks a little younger, though.
I felt bad because she was like running away and getting them to chase her, and I'm like, that guy must be exhausted. He's gonna die.
Yeah.
soon.
Yeah, I feel like Shoony in the scene is, he has two different instincts, which is like, I want my daughter to be cool, but I need her to be kidnapped so I can save her. It's so tough.
And I think he found a pretty good balance because she kind of beats him up.
She does fight back.
She runs away.
She should have really been able to beat up those two, like Colin said,
not.
92-year-old
yeah, or
men.
just
They're
run
not that
away.
old, but yeah.
Everybody in the film is always covered in sweat as well.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it was really hot.
Yeah,
It's L.A.
Hey, you're wearing a black suit in LA. Come on.
And they're always wearing sunglasses, those guys.
So I don't remember when this scene took place, but when she's kidnapped, she flashes back to the longest monologue of the whole movie.
Oh my God.
Shoony's monologue?
Was that like on the front lawn of
Yes.
some house?
Yeah, it's supposed to be her about to go to school, but it's like we have a flashback to his speech as if he didn't make enough speeches, but she's just remembering some inspiring words, I guess.
Yeah.
I only have like a chunk of this because it goes on, but it's like, the more distant a person is, that much closer that person is. So what if a dream of life turns into an incident and scatters everywhere? Time can't change the emotions. The feeling doesn't die when one becomes distant. Love is a relationship between two hearts, a relationship that can be divided, like any properties or material things in the world.
You know
Boy,
what?
it's like Wonder Woman.
He should have been reading poetry at Joe Biden's inauguration.
Oh, I totally agree.
This is just like
His poetry skills.
they
are
just
off
cut
the
back to
charts.
everybody just dumbfounded. Like, what the?
It's also like in Wonder Woman where she says some stuff about love or the truth. Shoony B's speeches are way better than Gal Gadot's.
Oh God, yeah.
Just saying.
Now there's like an alleyway fight.
Well, it's confusing because he meets up with Karen's dad. Is he like supposed to be a police officer? Or
And he's
something?
wearing a suit.
what?
Yeah, he's wearing a suit,
Yeah.
but he pulled into the driveway, and I thought it was one of the bad guys.
Me too.
Because he
Me
gets
too.
out, he's like, "Hey, Shoony, how's it going?"
Yeah.
Oh, somebody stabs him.
That's exactly what
He
happens.
gets stabbed immediately.
And then he has a showdown with one of the guys with these two, like, what are they called? Bowie knives?
Yeah, I
Angular
forget
knives?
Yeah, they're kind of like curved.
It almost feels like, because he uses them a lot throughout the movie, it almost feels like a Nepal weapon in the kind of way that in the Indonesian martial arts that like Iko does in the Raid movies, they use like those specific knives.
Yeah, there's a specific name for them that I don't know.
It could be, but he uses nunchucks, I think, just as much.
Yeah.
Yes, he does. Well, I mean, because Bruce Lee's awesome.
Exactly.
This knife fight,
My God.
I mean, I hope you didn't pay for your whole seat because you're only going to need the edge.
Oh my God.
I loved it. And
This scene goes on.
I love it.
It goes
Knives.
on.
I know that Colin said it was boring, but it goes on and on. At what point they like do the splits and they're fighting on the ground?
Yeah. I don't want to say it's boring, but it's very repetitive.
Yes.
There's
no escalation to it.
I hope you like these sound effects because holy shit.
I actually made a note.
2 of them.
Good sound effects on the knives, big and loud.
And these knives are clearly cardboard, so
they change from real to cardboard.
They're just like hitting. This is like the knife fight from Under Siege or something like that with Tommy Lee Jones and Steven Seagal.
Oh yeah. Well, actually, there's no connection in the knife fight in Under Siege. While this one, they're connecting.
You hear it in the sound
slowly.
effects, Justin. Clang, clang,
Yes,
clang, clang,
they
clang,
keep
clang.
slowing things down and speeding them up, and whenever they slow things down, we get this weird like ghosting happening in the picture, and that's like throughout the whole
that
movie.
200 consumer camera that they're using, probably on mini DV.
Yeah, exactly.
You take the good and the bad. It's kind of like how David Lynch shot Inland Empire on mini DV. It feels like he borrowed that camera from Lynch.
I should have hired that Shoony B fella.
And I don't remember, he kills this guy, right? I kind of blacked out from the pleasure at this point.
What I do love is like anytime they're fighting in the wides very slowly, even though it's sped up like twice. The knives are clearly cardboard, and then they'll sort of connect, and then it'll just focus on their arms, like pushing one another, and they're real knives, and then they'll immediately cut, and they'll be clanging.
Oh wait, I hear the classic "No Such Thing as a Bad Movie" house cat. Meow.
He's just making some noise.
And he's looking.
It's just like the dog sound effect in this movie.
Yeah, he's like, you guys talking about Shoony B? He's awesome.
We've been getting him hooked on these YouTube channels for cats where it's just birds.
It's like birds on a tree stump.
And he's...
Oh, does he go nuts for it?
He'll like stand up and try to like swat at them. And now he's convinced that like the birds are actually coming from behind the TV. So he's always looking up behind the TV.
He'll just
You're
like
playing
stare
mind
at the
games.
TV
That's
for
emotional
hours.
torture on your cat.
No, he loves it.
He thinks it's a window. So he's like smacking on the screen and stuff like that.
You mentioned like a random shot of like somebody's arm. There's a shot like that in the scene where Shoony and Karen are like huffing and puffing and drinking water after their big workout, and there's just a random close up to Shoony's like bicep that's like glistening in sweat, and it like cuts to her face, so it's like, oh, she's looking at his arm.
He's not cool.
I love how like he comes and tells her that his dad died, and she's like, oh, and he's like, it's not your fault. It's like, no, Shoony, it's your fault.
So we go back to her house, and she's nursing his wound. And I have to say, he wears a lot of tank tops in this movie. He's not a very in shape dude.
I disagree. He's got guns.
He's a little tubby.
He's not. I mean, he's just.
It's all muscle, Colin.
He's just kind of like
he's a little doughy.
Squat because he's shorter, but
he's a little doughy. And he pontificates in this scene again.
I will say, like, speech. I mean, of course, he has to, like, comfort her. And
it's a scene.
He kisses her on the forehead. And that's the most, like, sexual interaction we get with these two. And it's definitely implied that they are supposed to be romantically involved.
Maybe.
Like, she just shows up and is just like, and he's like, hey, how you doing?
How you doing?
I just came to
and
see
he
you.
leaves and he goes, hasta la vista, baby. And I'm like, her father just died, sunshine.
Yeah, that's a little brash.
And okay, can I take back my favorite thing?
What was it?
Whoa, No Such Thing as a Bad Movie first.
Has everybody said their favorite thing?
Yeah, I said
Yes.
the Samosa Club.
Okay.
My
I want
dog.
to take
The
back
dog
my
is-
previous favorite thing.
What'd you say?
Okay.
I can't remember.
Okay.
But
Somebody is quickly re-editing the No Such Thing as a Bad Movie Wikipedia page.
So this is my favorite scene. This is the backyard fight. This scene.
Oh my god!
This is like the fight to end all fights. This would be like the end fight in like Drunken Master 2 for the Shoony B version. So he shows up at the bad guy's house, and again, let's go back to the budget thing where they can't afford to shoot at these great mansions and stuff like that. This is supposed to be the bad guy's house. This is Greco's son's house.
Because his son shows up.
This is the trashiest looking, most white trash looking
You're only saying that because it's full of trash.
bungalow. This back
full of trash.
He shows up. This scene gave me anxiety. He shows up and he has a drone, a little mini drone that he sends up into the air to scope out the backyard.
The backyard where the villains, I guess they just spend 7 hours a day swinging sticks around.
It's all these guys, all these guys in black suits and ties wearing sunglasses swinging around their weapons. One of them has like a kendo like practice sword, which is like made of bamboo.
Yeah, they all
not
have
a weapon.
different weapons.
Yeah, and he shows up. This backyard, it's like an LA bungalow, so it's like that kind of stucco exterior. This backyard is full of so much fucking trash and garbage. It's one of those places where, you know, you're in a kind of not so nice neighborhood. You kind of move in and you've got those kind of redneck neighbors like, oh, fuck. And they have like a broken down car.
I lived behind one.
Yeah, there's like couches in the background. It's like, how many couches did they own?
When I was watching it today, I did wonder, did he know somebody who was moving?
No.
And they just haven't unpacked. No. They haven't put their stuff in the house
100% no. It looks like...
there's like an old patio heater out there.
It looks like the house that, you know, a bunch of like college students own or something like that.
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly what like just bongs all over the place.
Everything is mismatched. So they have... It's all this like eclectic furniture. They have like a... You know, one like leather bar stool. Nothing matches.
Yeah.
And it's all like around like a fire pit with just piles of trash and garbage. It's disgusting.
And this is a scene that we talked about where every 20 seconds, whoa, 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 in the background.
We also forgot to mention the Shoony B fighting style, which is I'm going to stand in the center of a circle and guys will come up to me one at a time.
And then I'll just kick them very awkwardly.
Well, that's kind of classic Jean-Claude Van Damme or like any martial artist.
It's true, but he's not good at hiding it, is all I'm saying.
And he goes like...
Well, the jump cuts didn't hide it.
Not well enough, unfortunately, but still loved the scene.
Yeah, it's like a great video game, but it's so funny because all these guys, you know, supposed to be, you know, bodyguards for this rich sex trafficker, and it's the dumpiest looking backyard, and all the fences are really low.
There's like one of the baddies looks like he's like 12 years old as well.
And one of them looks like he's like 65. The age range is insane.
Listen, the whole Sunday class showed up for a fight scene.
Oh God, it's so funny.
And it's not a prop fight or anything like that because nobody wants to touch that real garbage that's laying there.
Oh, it's so trashy. There might as well be just like a trampoline in the backyard or something, you know?
It probably is if you look close enough.
It's covered in garbage bags.
So his like the smaller boss before he gets to the big boss, in this case is Mickey. And he does the splits and he like does he flexes his biceps and he does have pretty big arms. He's been working out his arms.
Yeah,
apparently.
he does the Jean-Claude Van Damme in No Retreat, No Surrender. And for the rest of the fight scene, he's got a big grass stain on his ass.
He has so much dirt on the back of his...
I didn't notice.
On the back of his like tank top.
But he's wearing like white pants or something like that too. It's like, not a good choice.
But so anyway, he breaks his arm or something because in the following scene he has a sling. Now before... Okay.
Yeah, that's the American flag.
Yeah. Before we get to the final scene, there's so many small scenes.
This is so good.
Wait, can I take back my second?
Wait, okay. I actually have two things I need to mention. So we get a scene where Maya escapes,
right?
And she runs around. She almost escapes, and they're like, "Ha ha!"
She gets injected with like a reanimator size serum.
Yeah, it's a big
Like
needle.
so
they
huge.
inject her, and she passes out.
And then they film it. Chuck Liddell films it, and then later sends it to Shoony B, which gets him all riled up.
Yeah, so before the final showdown, there's this random scene where somehow Karen's friends escaped, right? Because we go, that's
is the idea maybe that when he defeated Mickey, that let all the women
I think
out?
that is the idea, but we didn't see it because they were inside. Yeah. Because the whole movie, they just cut into random shots of these girls doing things. They're out on jobs,
with
they're
no
inside getting up,
or...
they're out back snorting coke. And so then we get the second scene in the Samosa Club. Exact same samosas are on the plates.
You're like, why would you go back to the club where you were drugged and kidnapped in the middle of the day?
Exactly.
As the owners watched on. But they're all thanking him for rescuing him.
Shoony B shows up and it's like, and he comes in, "Hey girls, how you doing? Your daughter's been kidnapped."
He does say, "How you doing?"
Your daughter has been kidnapped and is likely being sold into sex trafficking.
But he still has time
so
to do
casual.
one of the women goes, "How can we repay you?" And he goes, "In this war, if man becomes human, it would be a pretty big thing."
If man becomes human?
Yes. And they ask him another question, and this is the one where it's like, I know this is not what he meant, but it sounds like this, where he gives a common advice. He goes, "If you give a man a fish, he will eat for a day, but if you teach him how to fish, he will never go hungry."
Right.
That's what the subtitles say. That's not what he says. He says, "If you give a man fist, he will eat for a day, but if you teach him how to fist, he will never go hungry."
I think he meant fish.
And I was like, oh, maybe it's like martial arts related. But then I turned the subtitles on. I'm like, oh, no, he's actually saying
it's a form of martial
But
arts.
anyway, so you can see where this is going. He teaches them martial arts, and then we're literally cut back to the scene from the beginning of the movie with him and all the young women who are beating up the guys in blindfolds.
Doesn't he need to save his daughter? Like, isn't that the
This is what makes me think
afterthought.
this movie has been edited completely out of order because this all has to happen before the daughter gets kidnapped. But of course, that's not what. Shoony B went nuts in the editing chair because he went too far.
Yeah, he clearly finished this movie during COVID, probably during the first wave of the pandemic, I would say. That's why the streets of LA are so empty when you see them.
I thought this came out a couple years before. I thought it said like 2017.
No, I think it's 2020, wasn't it?
I don't know. Well, I mean,
I'll check IMDb.
It's clear that he hasn't shot the entire film because...
Oh, don't spoil it, Colin. Because first, before we get to that, we have to hang out with Greco, who actually says, "I love it. Life is good.
Life is good." And he, again, is at a very small bungalow with a tiny pool.
A tiny pool. This is definitely a place that pornos were shot
Oh
at.
yeah. By the way, this movie did come out in 2020, so you're probably right.
But
Justin.
they're acting like it's some huge mansion, and he even has like a DJ that's standing.
Yeah, he's named Sergio. Hey,
a
Sergio.
DJ for a party for 5 people.
Yeah. And he's got his henchmen standing around, and it's like it's very crowded in this backyard with like 5 people there.
It's a pool party. And then there's this just weird thing where it's like he's talking on the phone to Brutal, and then Brutal's sending his women, and then another woman shows up with Shoony, and then...
I mean, it's all building up the real final fight that'll come after this scene, right, guys?
Oh my God. And Shoony shows up blindfolded for some reason.
Yeah, there seems to be some scenes missing where like he got kidnapped or something.
Yeah.
Never takes off the blindfold when he's fighting this guy. It's like,
even though
Because he's like Zatoichi, he's a master.
he wants to prove that he can.
were those the rules?
Who knows?
Does he have to feel
I don't
like
know. Well, you know that Sonny means business because he's wearing Shoony, because he's wearing an all camo outfit.
Yeah, as in not unlike the previous scene where he had the yellow outfit.
and him and the bad guy's outfits change about halfway through this fight scene.
Again, they shot on multiple days. Who knows?
Yeah, listen, making movies is hard.
Yeah, sorry,
Colin,
right.
especially when you
At
don't have
this
any money.
point, all the bad guys are like, "This guy's unstoppable. He used to be in the army. You know,
Yeah, the classic Steven Seagal scene where they're like, "This guy can't be defeated."
Let's get out of here.
Yeah, and as we mentioned, there's a long fight scene with Greco, who was the mob boss at this point, who you don't expect to get down to the martial arts, but he does, and he's got a big sword.
Yeah, and when you think that, how Shoony gonna get out of this? Shoony pulls nunchucks out of his pants that he's had there the
2
entire
nunchucks
time.
out of the pockets of his cargo pants.
And it's so funny. This
Those are baggy
seems
pants.
to be in the front of the house. So all of a sudden they're fighting amongst trees in the front lawn. And Shoony is like swinging the nunchucks around, and just cars are driving by in the background. And I just started laughing, thinking about their POV. They're just driving by, like
Driving in the car, just
the
seeing
hell is
Yeah,
going on?
Shoony
It's
and
just some
Greco
guy like
fight.
swinging nunchucks around, like all right.
And
whatever.
meanwhile, the woman who brought Shoony is on the phone with Brutal and saying like, "Oh my God, he's kicking his ass. He's kicking Greco's ass." And so we're thinking like, when is he gonna have the big showdown with Brutal, who is shown just sitting on a lawn chair outside, surrounded by prostitutes, and he's got Maya. Maya's like, "Help me." Unfortunately, we don't get
And she
that.
shows the video to Shoony, like, "We got your daughter."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so he defeats Greco. I don't
think
remember
he
how.
kills
I think
him.
he stabs him or something. I can't
Yeah, he
remember.
kills him. And he's like, "We got your daughter." And Shoony's like, "I'm coming for you." And he jumps in the air. Freeze frame, credits
Yeah,
roll.
it is a...
So you're like, what the hell?
He never gets to save his goddamn daughter.
Hey,
why wasn't his daughter just there? Like he could have saved her.
I don't
there.
understand.
sequel, saving it for the sequel.
Was it a sequel setup, or it was like he didn't get to finish the movie, and it's like, all right, let's just end it?
I feel like he probably didn't get to finish the movie, which is why it's like 75 minutes long.
And plus, maybe it was a COVID thing, so he just cut his losses. It ends like this. Maybe we'll do a sequel someday.
Yeah, I'll just do this one shot of me going.
Hey, Justin, remember that promo that we shot for Impossible Horror where it ends the exact same way with me jumping at the camera, freeze frame?
Well, it's a reference to Fist of Fury. That's how that movie ends. Bruce Lee jumps in the air, it's like, and then there's a freeze frame, and you hear gunshots.
Fight of Fury.
Which you don't hear in this movie. Like, he doesn't die.
He's like surrounded like Butch Cassidy.
But what's weird is that like he jumps and does the kick. There's no one around him.
No, he's just.
Like, there's no reason
It's
to
for
do
the
this.
It's for the audience, man. It's for us.
Yeah.
He's angry.
It's supposed to be in 3D, like his leg comes out.
Yeah,
at us.
I was like waiting for the Shoony B will return.
And then it's like credits over picture, and then it just ends. Even the credits are
there are
surprisingly
so
fast.
many spelling errors in the credits. I have to point
Yes,
out.
there are.
I even saw the poster, and there's spelling errors on the poster.
Oh, really?
Oh my god.
Well,
Listen, English is not his first language. He definitely doesn't have anyone to like go over.
He's got like
work.
20 students.
he could.
Yeah, but they're not going to tell his sensei he's doing something wrong.
Judging by the amount of people in this movie, he must have 100 students. 100 students.
Or like 17 dojos around the LA
Well, it's
area.
as I was saying, it's obviously like friends and family too that are in this movie. But you look at that cast list, a ton of people.
Yeah, it goes
a
on
lot
and on
of
and on and
people.
on.
And that's Fight of Fury.
All right.
All
That's it.
of them got paid
Yep.
nothing.
No, nobody got paid. Definitely
way.
not.
But they got to be in a movie. And okay, so as far as like, Miami Connection, The Instructor, maybe some other martial arts vanity project, this might be the best. Is it as good as Miami Connection?
I think I laughed the most watching
Miami
this.
Connection has
Yeah.
music.
I think Miami Connection is more entertaining. It has a little bit more polish as far as like, it was shot on film.
Miami Connection is like, if you want like a fun kind of movie like this is more advanced studies.
Yeah.
Although I do feel like you could put this on for most people and you would think it's funny.
It's very accessible.
I mean, if you like bad movies, you will
sure.
absolutely adore this.
Yeah,
That's hands down.
Like you will be the coolest person of your group when you bring your like, hey, let's watch this movie. No one has seen this,
Apparently
so like
not.
you will be the first to do it.
Be the first person to show your friends this movie.
Oh my God.
Be like Shoony B.
Listen, we were the ones to break Deadly Lessons, and then what? Like 6 months later, the Flophouse does it.
Yeah. I was gonna say.
And you know why that is? It's because Peter Kaplowski gave it to them.
Well, I know, but you were like, "Oh, this is like my discovery." You also discovered Deadly Lessons, though, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, I didn't discover it like I'm at a video shop and I pick it up. Like this one, someone recommended it to me, but they hadn't seen it. They had just seen the trailer.
So you really feel like you were like the first person to see it.
Just to review it, I guess. Or I mean, I'm sure Shoony watched it and he screened it for friends and family.
Absolutely.
Hey, it's on Amazon Prime. So.
It's on Amazon Prime, I believe, in the
It doesn't mean
States.
anything to be the first. All that's important is that people share it with everybody that they know.
You have no excuse not to watch this movie.
It's on, it's so easy. Unless, Amazon is an evil company. You don't have an Amazon Prime account.
It doesn't matter if you're the first, as long as you see the movie.
Oh my God, Shoony B.
Thanks, Shoony. Yeah, he's in the room with us.
Okay.
Hey, what do you got in the fridge?
All right, we're running long.
Some brown
so
stuff. And Shoony B.
I gotta wrap
This
this
is
up.
literally the end of Thursday, and April needs to edit this and drop it tomorrow.
To drop it tomorrow afternoon. Oh, okay. So if you want to email the podcast, we're at no such thing as a bad movie at gmail.com. You can tweet at us at no such thing pod or check us out on patreon.com/no such thing as a bad movie. And if you donate $5 a month, you get a bonus episode every 2 weeks. And the next one that's coming out next week is on that Christopher Nolan movie Tenet. Not to be confused with Tenant, which I always want to say.
Like David Tennant.
Yeah.
I was
it's
so
Tenet.
disappointed when I actually saw it.
He's not the main character. I know.
There's a lot of time travel in this biopic, which does make sense because he was Doctor Who.
Strange. Yeah, would explain a lot.
There you go. And if you want to tweet at me or check me out on Instagram, I'm at April at Mansky.
You can follow me on Twitter, DeClueJ, or you can listen to me on the Bay Street Video Podcast, where me and Mark Hansen go through all of the week's Blu-rays and DVDs. Or you can listen to me on the Important Cinema Club, or the Star Wars Puncast, which, I wish we had called the Star Wars Jizzcast.
It's not too late.
I know, because the Star Wars, jizz is my favorite thing of Sar Wars. That
jizz
smooth
music.
Jazz that gets played.
Yeah. Did you know the people, the jizz musicians, are called jizz whalers?
I did know that.
I'm not even joking. It's like, Luke goes into the cantina and it's like, dun, 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 dun.
Wait, is that technically jizz? I thought Max Rebo was jizz.
They're all jizz, man. They're all jizz whalers.
Everyone's a jizz whaler in Star Wars.
Just whaling jizz everywhere.
All right, Colin.
Left,
where can
right.
they find you?
Well, you can find me on Jizz Whaler Podcast.
The Star Wars Jizzcast.
Jizzcast. I'll talk about my favorite jizz music.
You go track by track.
Jizz classics.
It's all covers of Jedi Rocks.
Yeah, sorry. April's just like, hurry it up. She has to edit this in like 6 hours.
I also really have to go to the bathroom.
Oh, sorry. Okay, you can follow me on Twitter, Sergeant Zima, SGTZIMA, and on Instagram, and that is it.
And that's it for this week.
Have
a good week and watch Fight of Fury if you can. Shoony B says watch it.
You should, as the Scots would say, you shouldn't be putting this movie off.
Very good. I'm April Admansky.
I'm Justin DeGlobe.
I'm Colin Cunningham.
And remember, there's no such thing as a bad movie.